and I'll give him a call.
Good evening, everybody. It's Thursday, August 18th at 5:01 p.m. I'm Greg Hooks, I'm chair of the Gig Harbor Planning Commission. And I'm calling our meeting to order. First, we'll call roll. Commissioner Greina.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Bradbury.
Here.
And Commissioner Krozik will not be here this evening, as well as Commissioner Bennett. But we do have a quorum, so I'd like to get the meeting started. So first order of business is approval of the minutes from our August 4th meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes or comments? If not, I'm willing to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move the minutes be approved as written.
I
Thank you.
second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Greina. Any discussion? Hearing none. The motion, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay. I do not see any attendees from the public. But as a formality, I will just open the floor for any public comment. So I see no hands, so I will close the public comment period. All right.
And I did get a voicemail. I did not, was it not able to reach a live person?
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All right. I neglected to say from the city, we have some new faces. So this is exciting. Robin Bolster Grant, hello, and nice to sort of meet you. Look forward to meeting you in person. Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
What is your position exactly, so everybody knows?
I am a senior planner. I have been here for about 5.5 months, new to Gig Harbor and new to the state of Washington. So I have a lot of learning to do, but lots and lots of experience in California.
Okay, great. And we also, I see Roxanne Robles.
Yes.
Welcome to the team.
Thank you. I'm also a senior planner. I started in February, just a few weeks before Robin.
Okay, great. And then Bree Ellis.
Hello, Bree Ellis, Stormwater Engineering Technician from the Public Works side.
Oh, great. Right. Yeah, I forgot you guys were going to be here. So I don't see on the agenda, Michelle, the stormwater discussion. So Robin, I'll let you take the floor and you can decide, you know, how we want to do this.
You bet. Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. Again, Robin Bolster Grant, senior planner. So this item is a preliminary discussion of 2 of the 4 proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan on the 2022 docket. We'll be talking about proposed amendments to parks, recreation, and open space. That will be my job. And then Bree is here to talk about changes to the stormwater plan. So that is also on the docket. There were 4 items, 2 are before you tonight, afternoon, night, I can't tell, for discussion. And then you'll be hearing at some point from Roxanne, who is handling issues related to climate change and sustainability. And there's also a utility element. Again, 4 pieces on the docket. I do have a very brief, if sort of boring, PowerPoint, if that helps. I like pictures and I was a little pressed for pretty pictures on this. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I don't know how, what the format for these are. I'm really okay if folks interrupt if I'm not clear in what I'm saying. Please let me know that. Okay. Can everybody see that?
No.
No. Okay, let me try. Let me try again. Let's see.
There we go.
Okay.
No, I
There we
would
go.
say, yeah,
Yeah.
we need to, yeah, can you enlarge that somehow so it takes up the whole screen?
It is taking up my whole screen, is it not?
Oh, never mind. I see on my own screen that I'm able to enlarge it. So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah, remote meetings are a little new for me. Anyway, thank you for being patient with me. I appreciate it. So again, so this element is one of 4 that were part of the 2022 docket. By way of sort of refresher and to clarify, I realized that the agenda referred to this issue as an update to the comprehensive plan. And I actually wanted to make sure that everybody understands this is probably a refresher for everybody, but there is a difference between an update and an amendment. So I hope this isn't too sort of pedestrian, but the Growth Management Act does provide 2 methods for revising a comprehensive plan. The periodic update, which was on a 10-year cycle, or sorry, 8-year cycle, now is on a 10-year cycle. And that's mandatory. And that affects virtually every element, all 14 elements in our comp plan. We have to look at them, make sure that they're up to date, changes in population, housing stock, market factors, and then new legislation. So this past year, for instance, a number of bills were passed that had to do with housing policy. And all of that will need to be incorporated into the updated housing element. And that also involves extensive public engagement. It is a document that sets forth our vision for what we want Gig Harbor to be. The annual amendment process is optional, but it allows cities to be more nimble. 1 per year, but the docket, like it does for this year, includes multiple elements in the packet. It can be initiated by private party or by public or quasi-public entity. All of the pieces on this year's docket are being proposed by the city. And these are targeted changes. Again, I just wanted to make sure everybody's clear on the difference. So the 22 amendment docket, again, parks, recreation, open space element. I'm going to be talking about stormwater plan. Bree is here to talk about, and then the other 2 pieces will be coming at you hopefully pretty soon. So the docket was approved by the City Council on February 28th of this year. A little bit of background. Also on February 28th, that same City Council meeting, the 2022 PROS plan, and that's Park, Recreation, and Open Space, was adopted by resolution replacing the 2016 PROS plan. And these are on 6-year cycles. The new plan, as soon as it was adopted, created immediate inconsistencies with our existing elements, parks element and capital facilities element, because they're based on the 2016 PROS plan. Some of the revisions and hopefully everybody was able to see the link on my cover memo, that it revised the way we classify our parks, introduced some nomenclature that hadn't been in the 2016 version, updated the inventory because things have changed, and it introduced a different way of measuring level of service, which is particularly of interest to public works and their capital facilities. But it was interesting, just as a little sidebar. Traditionally, you measure level of service for parks based on number of acres per 1,000 citizens. And that's a pretty sort of broad brush, right? It doesn't go into how people feel about the parks, what their experience is. So there's a trend to sort of update that and revise how level of service is measured. The new pros, the 22 pros, it includes the number piece because planners often like, or at least engineers like sort of more bright lines, but it sort of introduces a concept about measuring that in a way that's a little bit more holistic, I guess you would say. Also, the goals and policies were revised in the pros plan for 2022. Capital improvement plan, which is the budget piece, what we think we might want to spend on some of the changes to meet any gaps that had to be revised as well. So all of those required us to revisit the comprehensive plan, these two elements in this case, the parks again, and that's found in chapter 11, and then chapter 13 is capital facilities. One of the things that is a little different with this, consistency piece is in the past, the comprehensive element it referred back to the pros plan, but the pros plan lived as kind of a separate beast. And it was always a little bit awkward to refer back to another document. So we are proposing to take the 2022 pros plan and make that the new chapter 11 moving forward. And that eliminates some redundancy and confusion about whether you're talking about the pros plan or the pros element. So it was much easier to do that for a lot of reasons rather than trying to change everything and rewrite just portions. And then for chapter 13, capital facilities, again, we had to revise that to include the new classification system, inventory, and some discussion of level of service. And then I think, as I already mentioned, the capital improvement plan will need to be updated as well. And that's not included in what I sent the commissioners because that's still being kind of retooled and discussed with the budget that came out. There's, of course, budget is always subject to a lot of discussion. So typically in the pros plan, it's a little bit, it's aspirational, right? If we had a lot more money than maybe we would do many, many more things, but you have to be strategic, of course, and address what the gaps are and what we heard from the public. And I should go back and say that when the pros plan for 2022 was brought to City Council earlier this year, it had been through extensive public engagement. And if you read through the plan, and it is very readable, it reflects that many, many, many workshops and of course the Parks Commission was heavily involved in that as well. So next steps, really, I'm here to address any questions, clarification about anything that I sent and or that you read, any direction that you want to offer. You don't have to, but that's why I'm here. And then we will, of course, be scheduling a public hearing for your recommendation before we take this to City Council. That is all I have. I didn't want to sort of mention, because questions have come up, this isn't, we don't really have the ability to revisit anything that's in the pros plan because it has been adopted by resolution. It's really just marrying the element with some of the changes and making sure that per the Growth Management Act, we are internally consistent with our plans. So that's all I have. And again, I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. So I think the bottom line is this is just, as you indicate, correcting inconsistencies, wordsmithing it, and there are no substantive changes that we have to or even able to act on right now.
That's correct. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from anyone?
Well, I would like to say that was a very well put together presentation, and I appreciate the time that you spent putting it together, because it made it possible for me to understand what I think we're doing much better. So thank you for your efforts. They were quite successful. I will say that the text was very difficult to read for me. I have less than perfect vision. So a higher contrast, losing the gray background for white characters would be helpful in the future.
Absolutely. Understood. I agree. You'll get a cleaner version when we come back, I promise.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Commissioner Brown. Anything else? All right. Yes, I agree. Nice job.
Thank you very much. And I will let Bree take over the next piece of this, if that is okay with everybody.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see that? Hopefully, yeah, okay.
Yes.
So I'm here to talk about Stormwater Management Action Plan. I refer to this as a SMAP, so you'll be hearing me say that a lot. And hopefully you'll be saying SMAP for the rest of your days. You'll get so excited. So there's a few different steps to this. We're going to talk about receiving water assessment, basin prioritization, and then ultimately the action plan. So some background, why are we doing this? We care a lot about stormwater here at the city, but there is a reason that we're introducing the SMAP. We are a permittee of the Western Washington Phase 2 Municipal Stormwater Permit. This permit is implemented by Ecology, and we received this permit in 2008. Every 4 to 5 years, Ecology updates that permit and adds lots more requirements. The latest update was August 2019, and this is where they introduced this SMAP requirement. Some overall stormwater information for Planning Commission. This map shows a little bit of our infrastructure within Gig Harbor. We have over 4,500 catch basins, over 97 miles of pipe, 31 outfalls to the harbor, lots of different vaults, ponds. It's a whole management system. I also want to note, why do we care about stormwater? Yes, we are required to by our permit, but we also want to be good environmental stewards. Stormwater is the #1 water pollution in urban environments. So the first step in our SMAP is receiving water assessment. This is basically taking all of the data that we can find and analyzing it. So we took a lot of our own GIS data, Pierce County's data. We purchased a little bit of data, and then we analyze it to understand what is going on with our stormwater system. We did a rapid assessment with all of this information and kind of broke it up into a few different categories, that being land use, environment, habitat, and then our infrastructure. So the map on the right is our receiving waters. All waters, surface water, groundwater, go to 3 main parts of the Puget Sound: Henderson Bay, Wallachet Bay, and then Gig Harbor Bay. The next step in this process is basin delineation. So we took Pierce County's basin map, stormwater basins, and we took that and then we kind of refined it. We broke out a couple basins that they had as 1 into 2 or 3 and made it more specific to Gig Harbor. This is a complete list of all of our stormwater basins within the city limits and also within our UGA. So this is a part of the SMAP. This has been submitted to Ecology. What are all your basins? And also important to note is what % of these basins are within the city limits. This is important, I'll talk about in a minute, because we are very willing to work with Pierce County, but we don't have jurisdictional operation control over basins that are outside of our city. So that's an important thing to look at. And we can go back and talk about these if you want to get really into the weeds, but I'm trying to just provide an overall introduction to what this is. Then the next step, we take all the data and all the basins that we have and we prioritize them. We use Ecology's SMAP guidance for reference and kind of how to do this. I also took our neighboring jurisdictions examples. Everyone that's a permit phase 2 holder is doing the same thing. So we looked at Port Orchard's draft, City of Paulsbo, and also Kitsap County's draft SMAP, and kind of learned what they were doing and how do we want to do this. Also lots of staff input and expertise. So like I said, we split these into kind of 3 main categories: land use, fish habitat, water quality, and infrastructure. I want to point out a few things that are high priorities given to us by the guidance that Ecology gave. Jurisdictional boundaries are a big one. What is in our control and how can we provide change within our jurisdiction? Discharge location is also a high scoring or high priority. Although we care a lot about Henderson Bay and Willatchit Bay, we don't have control or jurisdictional control over those. Gig Harbor, we do. So that scored a little bit higher. We care about everything, but another one is sediment depositional areas. More sediment that's being deposited within Gig Harbor could be contributing to different types of erosion or pollution deposition. All the pollution gets washed down to our bay and can end up in the sediments, etc. We also look at hard surface and road surfaces. More hard surface means more stormwater runoff, which means potentially more pollutants to our waterways. Second kind of priority is the fish habitat water quality. One of the things that the SMAP guidance from Ecology says is don't collect a bunch of data that you don't already have. So we don't have a bunch of data on water quality. There is a 303D list, which is basically waterways that have issues that Ecology puts out, and North Creek is on there for potential lead pollutants. So that was the only water quality data that we have. If we get new data in the future, this can be changed or updated or looked at. Fish habitat is also important to us. What type of salmon are present in our streams or waterways. And then fish passage barriers are becoming a big deal and higher priority throughout the whole state. So we've looked at what types of fish barriers are on our waterways and how we can correct those or remove them. So high level kind of overview, what basins do we have? What's in our jurisdictional control? Kind of fish habitat, water quality issues, and then infrastructure. So the winner or the highest priority basin is North Creek. This is for many different reasons that we kind of outlined, but North Creek is a very popular basin within Gig Harbor. I think it has a lot of historical push in this city. There's 83% of North Creek Basin is within our jurisdictional control. There's lots of opportunities to remove fish barriers. There is a water quality potential issue with lead that we need to look into further. It discharges to our bay. And there's also, I'm sure you've heard of, is land acquisition opportunities in the North Creek Basin. So lots of different reasons, but North Creek has become our top priority that we'll focus on for the SMAP. So this is kind of where we're at a staff level now, is finishing the SMAP. What types of current projects are we working on within North Creek Basin, and what permit requirements are we already doing? We're already doing a bunch of O&M in this basin, lots of education and outreach already happening. So kind of fine tuning that on what we're already doing, and then what we're going to do in the future. So what short-term and long-term actions are going to happen. At a staff level, we're still looking at those and pinpointing what we want to do. It is likely that we will turn the SMAP into Ecology, and then the next permit round, they'll say, great plan, now implement it. So we need to be kind of cautious on what short-term and long-term plans that are actually achievable. Another big part of the SMAP is adaptive management. This is kind of the adaptive management cycle. always in the back of our head, how we can adjust, how we can monitor different things and make sure that this is successful. We plan to add this SMAP document as an appendix to the existing Stormwater Comprehensive Plan. And a timeline, like I said, we are currently reviewing the draft SMAP. We're giving an introduction to the Planning Commission tonight at the study session. Then it'll go to council just for an introduction, this same presentation. We are hopeful to get a decent full draft to Planning Commission for review in October. And then ultimately it is due March 31st of next year. That's the ecology due date. So I know I threw a lot at you. We're going to nerd out on stormwater, but any questions on this? And I can go back if you need.
Would you mind switching back to the gallery view, please?
Yes,
And not screen sharing.
sure.
Thanks. Okay, nice job. Appreciate it. Questions or comments from the commissioners?
Well, yes, I'd like maybe a little more detail on what the draft plan will include. When you mentioned land acquisition in the North Creek Basin, will it include a plan or a recommendation, or what will it say about land acquisition there?
Well, we're already, moving forward with some, as you may know. I think it'll just be a recommendation to move forward with those. But that's something that in our short-term and long-term action plans that we're still diving into.
Okay, thank you.
I guess to further answer your question, what will the document include? It'll include all of this, how we did a receiving water assessment. It'll dive deeper into that, how we did our basin prioritization, and then ultimately our short and long-term plans.
Okay.
So how does this tie into some of the issues that already exist? I remember we had a presentation a while back from one of your colleagues talking about I think there's 6 main outflow systems in Gig Harbor, and at least 2 of them have major problems, and they're already over capacity, and yet more and more homes continue to go up on the uphill slope, which is going to continue to add more junk and fertilizer and everything else flowing in. So and we've already, as I think you appreciate, we've already exceeded our 2030 growth targets, and we continue to boom from a population perspective, read as more people, more homes, more stormwater, more wastewater. So how does all of this tie together, get accounted for, and most importantly, how does it all get mitigated?
Well, this SMAP is just directing our focus. We care about all of stormwater in the entire city, and we still have to continue to do that. But this is just prioritizing our focus. We should focus on North Creek for maybe retrofits, or maybe fish burial removal, or culvert replacement, or focusing our efforts towards private culverts to property owners, or education outreach. It goes on and on. So it's just meant to focus our efforts on a priority basin. Not saying that any other basin is less than, it still needs our attention, but just planning on focusing on North Creek at this time.
Right. So what powers do you have to compel mitigation? And I'll just take a specific example. I don't know if it's a problem or not. Up on Borgen or Burnham Drive as it goes uphill from the harbor. There's the new, very near the roundabout, to the left and to the right, up the hills are probably hundreds of new homes, very large homes, and they're on very steep hills that clearly are going to drain downhill, ultimately right into the harbor. So what controls are placed on the developers as they go through the planning and permitting process with the city?
Well, that's kind of a completely separate topic. That would be our stormwater manual. So we have a stormwater development manual. So while a subdivision or whatever sort of project is happening, they must meet all of those regulations within our stormwater manual. This planning piece, the SMAP, is more of a higher umbrella way of thinking.
Yeah, I get
And
that, but I'm pretty sure both of those are in North Creek.
Well, those ones, sure. There's also, a large plat maybe happening in Crescent Creek area or Peacock Hill, or, go ahead, Roxy. I don't feel like I'm answering your question fully, but.
I think that Bree, you might want to talk about how this plan will help us prioritize stormwater infrastructure going forward and how the plan will help us chart out how we manage these ongoing issues.
Okay. Like I said, these ongoing issues are in every basin. Let's just compare North Creek to Crescent Creek. We both care a lot about North Creek and Crescent Creek. They both have fish barriers on them. They both have infrastructure issues. They both have different culvert replacements that we want to do. So this map is going to say we have 2 culvert replacement projects that we want to do. They're on our CIP list. We're going to prioritize North Creek culvert replacement over Crescent Creek because this map is basically directing us to do so.
So that prioritization would relate to how the city doles out the money then, I presume?
It could. Yeah, one CIP project over the other, we have multiple of them. Which one do we choose first? This plan is suggesting that we choose those CIP projects that are in North Creek Basin. Or I guess another example, we have source control inspections coming up for businesses. So we're going to all the businesses that are potential polluters in the city to make sure that, their dumpsters are not leaking and their catch basins are clean, et cetera, et cetera. We could focus our efforts in North Creek Basin and do North Creek businesses first. So this is just kind of guiding what we already have to do, but where we do it first or how we prioritize different tasks.
But Greg asked a question there that I think it was a very good one, and I'd like to ask that we get an answer for that question, if not tonight, maybe at the next meeting, and that is, what powers exist for the city to compel developers to take steps to mitigate runoff from those 2 specific developments, for example?
Sure. And it's kind of a separate topic, but we can get into it. That is all outlined in our stormwater development manual. If you put in a new development, you have to follow 10 different minimum requirements. There's water quality, flow control, existing, basically mitigating flows. You can't take out wetlands without replacing it somehow. So all of the mitigation part, water quality, flow control, is in our stormwater development manual. So if you're a developer, you want to put in a new project, you have to follow different criteria, and that's all outlined in the stormwater manual. Not necessarily the SMAP. They're 2 different things.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that's a different thing. So who follows up on whether it's done properly or not? I know this is a different thing, but we're just trying to understand it. I
Sure,
think.
sure. We could have a whole just study session on the stormwater manual.
No.
No?
No, so we know.
Oh, when a new project comes in, it's reviewed multiple times, whether that be planning or engineering. The engineering group is the one who has review and comment on the stormwater manual. We open that big manual up and go through page by page and make sure that they're meeting all the criteria.
Thank you.
Mhm. I feel like there's still outlying questions. I'm sorry that I'm not answering these to your liking.
No, I think it's, well, for me anyway, I mean, as I just look around, you know, I've been here since 2000, and there may have been projects that where the kibosh was put on it. I mean, I believe that our comp plan says, or whatever, the documents of the city say that growth has to pay for growth, and yet when then we have a presentation that says, you know, this main, you know, outflow line is failing, and yet I see new communities that were built on that outflow line that we knew was failing, and they're still building more on an already failing line. And I don't see, and maybe it's just not visible to me, I don't see where the developers are being held accountable to say, hey, look, you can't build this development until you help fund, you know, the improvements that are necessary to the current infrastructure, which is already, you know, which is inadequate. It was adequate until all the new growth. So growth doesn't appear to be paying for growth, and developers don't appear to be being held accountable for paying their fair share of overtaxing an already overburdened infrastructure. So I guess that's where I think that's where you're hearing perhaps the skepticism, and it's not directed at you. You know, we've as a planning commission been very good to say, okay, let's not just discuss topics, you know, let's plan for the future. Isn't that what we're doing as the planning commission? And make recommendations to, you know, to city council. So that's where I'm coming from personally. Others
Sure.
may have a different perspective.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I appreciate this, like, yeah, you're trying to get to the root of the issue. I also just wanted to, not that it's not that it makes kind of like the overburdening of infrastructure okay, but like the city, like we can't deny land use permits or development permits, you know, if someone is meeting code, that would get the city in like a ton of trouble. So I'm just talking from my like land use perspective. Bree's on her like Bree has like a different as a perspective as a stormwater engineer. But land use is very contentious. And so if someone owns a piece of property, they have will to do with it what they can within, you know, state and local regulations. Just throwing that in there to make it even more messy.
I wanted to go back to your example though, that developer goes in, it's already discharging to maybe a pipe or trunk line, how we call it, and the trunk line doesn't have capacity. So then we would look at that. We would have our engineers and their engineers look at that, and maybe they have to install a larger vault or a larger detention system so that their flow leaving their site is less, because we don't have a capacity for, you know, a smaller detention. So all of those things, they are kind of out of sight, out of mind, but they are definitely being looked at.
Okay.
For example, was a potential project on Judson Street. They weren't very happy because we said, no, you have to put in X size vault to contain and detain all your stormwater. And your release rate has to be X, Y, Z because we don't have capacity in this pipe. You're causing erosion downstream at the outfall. So we are looking at those things if that makes you more comfortable.
Yeah, and like, again, I don't think anyone is trying to imply that we don't think you're looking at those things, that we're just trying to understand the controls and
Sure.
so it's good. So that's a great example to help me, feel better, about what's going on. And I think there are detention ponds that were required in those developments, that at least the one on the between Morgan and the highway. I think they had to have a large one put in there for the very reason that you're talking about. So
Correct.
okay. Other questions or comments?
I would say that by and large, the city is controlling growth and development in a reasonable way. But I would also agree that developers are never held for the full cost of their development. And I also acknowledge that some things outside the control of the city push development that is going to tax existing systems, whether it be stormwater, roads, schools, or any other system that we have in place to support the community. Happens everywhere. I don't know what the solution is. Those of us on this call do our best to try and keep things under control.
Thanks, Commissioner Bradbury. Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot there, Bree, and we appreciate, we put you on the hot seat a little bit, and that was not the
That's
intent.
okay. No, totally fine.
We're in the learning, always in a learning process, and we appreciate the expertise when you guys all come in and make us smarter.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it as far as the presentation portion goes. Robin, I see you nodding your head. So,
That is all we have. Yes.
right. So
I-
remarkably
Go ahead.
and refreshingly, it is 5:43. And everybody has a smile on their face.
I can do an update on the climate change comp plan amendment if you wanted to hear that. I know you're probably excited about getting to your after work glass of wine, but
oh no, please.
I am here with a presentation.
Oh yeah.
No, it's good to know.
Those are really good questions about stormwater. We had a lot of questions about stormwater at a recent public hearings or design review board meeting. So I think it's important for folks to understand that there is a really stringent review process for all that. Okay, I promise this isn't very long. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if many of you aren't aware, I guess climate change was removed from the comprehensive plan in 2018. So council has prioritized adding it back in and also developing a climate action plan. So this is just kind of talking about where we are. We don't have climate change mentioned anywhere in our comprehensive plan. And so what we've done is staff convened a 20-ish person advisory body called the CCC PAC, the Climate Change Comprehensive Plan Amendment Committee. We've been receiving educational sessions and presentations from regional experts in climate change adaptation and mitigation over the last 2 months. And so, yeah, we're here. We're at the point we're about to draft a comp plan amendment to introduce climate change action into the comprehensive plan, primarily developing and adopting a climate action plan, since that needs to come before we actually develop the climate action plan. And then we intend to use recommendations from the climate action plan to further amend the comprehensive plan in the 2024 periodic update process, but more on that in a moment. So our CCC pack was made up of a lot of internal and external stakeholders from all over. We had people representing all of our boards and commissions, cities, all of our city staff, or representatives from our city staff that work in development, and also, yeah, folks from a lot of different places in the Pierce County organization, and folks working in sustainability in the region. So like I said, we've had educational sessions over the last 2 months or so. So in just a few days, I'm going to go back to the CCC pack to talk about what we've learned and talk about a draft comprehensive plan amendment. After each of the educational sessions, we asked the CCC pack participants to send 2 goals and policies related to what they just learned. And so I've collected and organized all that by like where it might fall within the comprehensive plan based on comprehensive plan elements. And we're going to be able to give that to a consultant once we start our climate action plan process to kind of inform their recommendations, so they get an idea of where, you know, people in Gig Harbor want to see this go. And so very next step will be developing this climate action plan. Gig Harbor received a $76,000 grant from Growth Management Services. It will reimburse for the staff time to do the CCC pack, as well as conduct more public outreach and develop the climate action plan with a consultant. And yeah, that's my real quick spiel on climate change action in Gig Harbor. I am happy to take any questions on that.
Thank you for that. And I think you all know that Bob Soltis, I believe, was the Planning Commission representative on that pack.
Yep.
Hey, nice job of presenting that. Your graphics get an A+. I have a question back on the first slide.
Okay.
The 4th point. Tell me what you meant by that.
Legislative process to adopt amendment.
Yeah, what does that mean?
That is the legislative process to adopt a comprehensive plan amendment. And the comprehensive plan amendment is going to say, we as a city are going to develop a climate action plan, because that's not currently in our comprehensive plan. So it would be
Right.
like just legislatively not really proper to do so.
And when will that amendment to the comp plan be adopted?
Y'all should see it next month, just about a month. September 15th, we're going to bring it to Planning Commission for a study session and recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
So we're hoping to get the amendment in this year. And then our grant period for the climate action plan is through June 30th of next year. And then we can do work on, you know, incorporating any recommendations from the consultant into the 2024 periodic update. So there's a couple steps, but we're thinking a little bit ahead.
But it would go into the plan as an amendment this year, hopefully,
Yes.
and then it will also get refined in the 2024 update. Is that
Exactly.
idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that happens by an ordinance?
Yes, I think Robin would know better than
Yes.
I haven't done a lot of comp plan stuff in my career yet. But yeah, but they all of our comp plan amendments have to go at the same time. So
As opposed to resolution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ordinance, which is why you folks see it first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. All right.
Thanks, Roxy. Sorry, I didn't know you were on the seat tonight.
It's
Nice.
okay. It was
Put my
kind of,
graphics to shame.
it was kind of news to me. I already had that as well. I kind of already had that presentation put together for something else.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, nice job. Okay,
It's very helpful to get an advance heads up on these things. I mean, I'm glad you were on the agenda tonight.
Me
Yeah.
too, even though it was a surprise.
well, we certainly understand that you guys are going 18 ways to Sunday every day in the planning department in Gig Harbor. And anyway, so we appreciate how busy you are and certainly appreciate your flexibility in being able to do such a cogent presentation on short notice. So, okay, Robin, well, I guess it's back to you for other business. Next meeting is September 1st.
That is correct. Yes. That's, yes, sorry. I'm looking.
I
at
have
the
not been
calendar.
provided a topic yet.
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
No problem.
So we will, that's to be decided.
Yes, I will get the meeting materials and agendas out on the 25th, so next Thursday.
Okay,
For the record,
right.
I will not be available to attend on the 1st.
okay, thanks. And I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head, how long is John gone for?
I don't remember to have to re-listen to the last meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it should be right at the very end. Or I would bet most people, even if they're traveling, they'll check their email periodically, so you might be able to just email them instead of taking the time to try to find it. It seems to me like he was going to be gone for an extended period of time, but I don't recall. So anybody whose email is chicken travel probably takes longer trips. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments, wise or otherwise?
We are saying goodbye to Bree. I didn't want to leave the meeting without announcing tomorrow is her last day. I thought if I didn't say it, maybe it wouldn't be real, but it is. So
Oh, goodness.
Thanks, Robin.
Where are you heading to?
Nowhere. I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mama for a little while.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, thanks. It was a hard decision. I really like it here, but
Yeah. Well, most important job in the world.
yeah.
Well, enjoy your time with your kiddos or however many there are.
Yeah, 2 of them. And I hope the SMAP gets pushed through. So be easy on it.
I'll try and do you proud.
Terrific. Okay. All righty then, everybody. So with hearing no other questions or comments, and I certainly appreciate you bringing that up, Robin, and recognizing someone's talent and service. How long have you been with the city, Bree?
3 years. Seems like a lot longer, but 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, best of luck in your adventures. So hearing no other discussion, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 The motion passes unanimously, and at 5:55 p.m. I call this meeting adjourned. Thanks,
thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Good evening, everybody.
Have a
Thanks.
good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Evening.